Hi, Dr. Anna Cabeca here. I want to introduce you to Eve Plews, who is a master of knowledge and tidbits and those pearls. I mean, she has a wealth of pearls, of information that you really want to know, and especially as a woman, especially as a mom, especially as a working woman, and the critical importance of what we're facing today in the environment. I have never heard anyone express it as well as Eve Plews does. She has a practice in Florida. She is, again, a wealth of scientific knowledge and experience in her clinical practice. I want to talk with her today and introduce her to all of you on the topic of the importance of detoxification. So Eve, it's great for you to share your wisdom and knowledge with us here in my community.
Happy to do it.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in detoxification and why it's important.
It's easy. I grew up in the west coast of Florida, and I used to ride my bike behind the mosquito truck, breathing in the DDT. And so when all my health problems began as a young teen and continued with 20 headaches a month and 4 surgeries before age 16 and pharmaceutical drugs every day of my life from age 12 to age 27, I was ready to seek out answers other than conventional medicine.
So it started at age 12?
Well, about age 12 is when I start being a really sick kid.
Oh, man. Tell the story about how you used to chase the trucks, what that actually
Well, the
looked
mosquito
like.
fogger would come down the road, and, I grew up on a dirt road in the west coast of Florida, and so the 3 other kids that lived in the neighborhood, we would jump on our bikes and ride as fast as we could behind that mosquito truck in the fog, and the game was whoever coughs first loses. Well, what's true is we all lost because all of us ended up with environmental problems.
So do you believe now when they're spraying for mosquitoes, it's still creating the same toxic environment for us?
No, because for the most part, we're using larvicides. We're not spraying for adult mosquitoes. Now, of course, we've had a situation where we've sprayed for adult mosquitoes down in the Miami-Dade area. But for the most part, what we're doing today is using larvicides and trying to kill the mosquitoes before they become adult mosquitoes that can sting you.
So from 12 to 27, you struggled with this growing onset of
Oh, it was
menopause.
unbelievable. I was diagnosed with arthritis on my 21st birthday. I was diagnosed with vascular disease by the time I was 24. I had 20 headaches a month. I had chronic pain. I had multiple surgeries. I was using pharmaceutical drugs every day. I didn't know there was another way. And then when my obese chain-smoking doctor told me I would likely spend my adult life in a wheelchair, that was the day I walked into my first health food store and bought a book that said if you bruise easily, you have a vitamin C deficiency. And that's the day I bought my first bottle of vitamins, thankfully to Dr. Linus Pauling.
Yeah, and we call Dr. Linus Pauling the father of functional medicine. And you are a pioneer in the field of functional medicine. I know you say you've been part of that initial group on the pioneer meeting with Functional Medicine Plus, your AFMP, your functional medicine certified practitioner, which is a huge certification and a level of scientific achievement that is very hard to get, very expensive to get, and is challenging to say the least.
But and made us all better clinicians, that's for sure.
For sure, absolutely, because the depth of knowledge looking for the root cause. Talk about that. Now you've been in practice for how many years?
28 years at Full Spectrum Health in Sarasota.
28 years in Sarasota, Full Spectrum Health.
And then I add in the Colorado and the Arizona years before that when I was studying medical botany and Chinese medicine and homeopathy. And yeah, I'm cracking 30 years now.
So what are we facing today as toxic overload? What's the toxic burdens we're facing today?
Well, there's 60,000 chemicals that are in the food supply and in the environment that didn't exist on the day I was born. And unfortunately, all too many of them are in our tissue now. And the one that I am the most concerned about today is glyphosate, the active ingredient that we know in the product Roundup, but not only in Roundup, in hundreds of other products that we're using, just getting rid of the weeds in the cracks of our driveway, thinking that they're benign. And in fact, they are altering the gut microbiota, the bacteria in our gut, and not just in us, in the gut of the cows, in the gut of the other animals. And so as a result of that, we're changing our physiology.
And also we're ingesting it from the foods, the GMO foods as well, and the...
Oh, absolutely. But not even just the GMO foods. What they're doing with glyphosate now is they're spraying them on crops to dehydrate the crops. So sunflowers are sprayed 3 days before they're harvested to dry them out, because it's a lot cheaper to harvest a dried crop than it is a heavier wet crop. So they're not genetically modified, but they're still sprayed with glyphosate right at the end. But you can't eat one meal a month in a restaurant and not be getting genetically modified food. So I'm going to endorse organic, organic, organic as much as you possibly can. At least at home, I can control everything in my refrigerator and pantry. I may not be able to control it all when I'm eating out, but I can control what I can control at home.
That's true. Now, so what are key elements to a healthy detoxification program? Now, we know that we're faced with GMOs, we're faced with glyphosate, and that's infiltrating our food system, right? And it's the contamination. I'm just distressed about the sunflowers. That is my absolutely favorite flower. So what are we doing now? So what are your elements to help detoxification?
Well, first off, we need to know that detoxification is a very nutrient-dense process. It is not a process that you can do by doing water fasting, or I'm sorry to say, even juice fasting. You know, it's gotten very hip for people to go out and buy these 3-day juice fasts, thinking they're taking care of things. Or they go to the health food store and they buy some sort of kit, and it has them peeing and pooping, and they think that peeing and pooping is detoxifying. But what's really true is the liver has to transform molecules from fat soluble to water soluble so we can pee them away. And so we need nutrients to be able to do that. And so I'm especially going to look at things like milk thistle and alpha lipoic acid and vitamin C and coenzyme Q10 and S-acetylglutathione, you know, various agents that are going to help us detoxify. But first off, stop putting in the trash. Start eating organically. Pay attention to what you're rubbing on your face, what you're showering with, what you're putting on your hair, what you're cleaning your oven with, what you're wiping your counter down with. We're getting exposed to things in our environment, not just what's on our plate.
It's so true. And I think about the chemicals that we're putting on from our makeup and our perfumes, and also our clothes, right? If, for example, our crops are being sprayed in our cotton, and the chemicals that are being used to clean our clothes, etc., we're absorbing those toxins as well.
Less so, because some of those are very large molecules, so they don't actually transport the skin. I'm more interested in what we're rubbing on our skin, what we're breathing in, and what's on our plate.
Perfect. And so for women and men out there too, the importance of detoxification for what are some of the diseases that regularly detoxifying will decrease or will help with?
Well, not just diseases, but every skin condition is coming from the liver or the bowel. It doesn't matter whether it's eczema or psoriasis or acne, or you're just plain itchy. When we look at headaches, chronic headaches, a lot of people think headaches just drop out of the sky. You know, I ask clients all the time in clinic, you know, how often do you get a headache? Oh, I take something a couple times a week. I go, wait a minute. Did you ever look in the rearview mirror and see what did you eat? What did you do that might have initiated a headache? You know, as a homeopath, headaches occur in 6 locations: front, top, back, left side, right side, all over. And where they occur often tells us what the cause is. And right-sided headaches are called liver headaches in homeopathy, meaning they're caused by a toxin. It could have just been the cologne that you used.
So the quick triggers, so that would give us an indication with quick triggers.
Look in the rearview mirror, see what you did. There's a trigger there somewhere.
Yeah, look for the why, like what could have caused
Bingo.
it, what's the underlying. Now, what are some of the habits that you want everyone to begin doing regularly so that they're empowering the body for regular detoxification?
Drink pure water. Get an absolute 1 micron filter. Absolute 1 micron filters, you can spend about $300. You can either put them on your counter if you're renting your place, or you can plumb them under the sink. Once a year you'll change a cartridge. It'll cost you about $80. And stop buying the plastic bottles. 10% of our landfills are filled up with plastic bottles. You know, stop it. We just, you know, start with something simple like pure water.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Thanks for sharing it with our community. And I think the emphasis here is, you know, definitely decrease the amount of exposure. eat whole food, organic food, really like protest against glyphosate usage, and we really